Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. This is another What's for Dinner video to give you some dinner ideas, some meal inspiration, very quick and easy meals. Some are literally just a meal mention with a little video, and others are full recipes. Anything that I have that I can link below will be in the description box for you. So let's get started. Just want to mention some of these are some kind of different style meals. My husband had a wisdom tooth removed and we had a little bit of a different diet. So I shared some of those, but these are things that can definitely be used by everyone, but it's not necessarily what we typically eat in a week, but it's what we ate. So let's get started. Okay, so for this first recipe, I guess you could say, it is a recipe. This may be a side dish for some people. This was dinner for us. My husband had a wisdom tooth removed and he was a little limited as far as what he could eat for like food. He had plenty of Jell-O and ice cream, but he needed some food. So I am dicing up some potatoes and we're going to be making some loaded mashed potatoes. If you want to just have this as a side, it'd be great, but it was a good dinner. We both ate it. I didn't really cook separate meals for me during this time, and it was kind of a prolonged time because he had some minor complications. Anyway, I made it and it was good, so I figured I might as well share it. So we're just going to cook up the potatoes like you would, peel, dice, cover with water, and bring to a boil. Now I'm using this ham that we get from Aldi, and I snuck a piece, yep. And I'm just going to dice this up. Now my husband couldn't have the ends that had like the skin on it, so I ended up preparing separate ham for us just because I didn't want to waste it, but I had to give him stuff that didn't have that, and his needed to be cut up a little bit smaller. So you don't have to be as particular as I was in this instant, but we're just going to cut up some of this ham, and it is already pre-cooked. And now I'm also grating up some white sharp cheddar cheese. Again, this is all just kind of based on how much you want, and I do prefer the freshly grated cheese, but by all means, buy the pre-shredded, no judgment, and any cheese flavor that you want, obviously, is just fine. So I've got my potatoes boiling, and then what I'm doing is it's a little steamy here, 2 small saucepans with the ham. Again, this was enough for leftovers, and I just separated ours because I needed to do that, and I just put in a little bit of butter so that it wouldn't stick to the pan. And just cooked that around, got it a little bit, I don't know, it just brings out the flavors even though it's already cooked. I feel like this way of heating it up is just better than throwing it in the microwave. But once again, do that however you want to do that. And we're just going to get that till it's nice and warm. Now there are lots of ways of making mashed potatoes, but I just drained my potatoes and I'm using this masher. I think it's a meat masher from Pampered Chef. I know they've got them other places. And mashing them up. Now, my husband didn't need to have soft foods, but I did not make these whipped potatoes. I just made them nice and soft. And then I wanted to beef these up a little bit, make them hearty and more filling. So I put in, I think it was 2 or 3 ounces of cream cheese, and then maybe 3 or 4 tablespoons of butter and some heavy whipping cream. And I just kind of did that, mashing it until I got to the consistency I wanted. I don't typically do cream cheese, butter, and heavy cream. I kind of do a different combination depending on what I have on hand. But again, this was a different situation. I also added in some salt. That might have looked like a lot, but it's pink Himalayan salt, so you just kind of see it more. And this was a lot of mashed potatoes. And then I'm also adding in some parsley flakes, just trying to give this dish a little bit more oomph to it and flavor and all of that. But you can just do your mashed potatoes however you want. And then we just put on our ham and cheese and a little bit of sour cream, and this was actually really, really good, but it would be a great side dish if you wanted to use it that way. Okay, so this next recipe, and I will try to write this out for you a little bit, even though it's kind of not exact measurements. I've made something similar to this in the past, but we're going to call this a spaghetti squash Italian bake. Okay, does that sound like something official? So I browned up 1 pound of ground beef. I mixed in some Italian seasoning and added in 1 jar of sauce. I did put a little bit of water in the jar and shook that around to get the rest of the sauce out. And we've got that just heating through. Now I also have a spaghetti squash that I baked in the oven. So that's already being done. I didn't really show that. Now I grated up some mozzarella cheese, maybe about 2 cups, and I'm just chopping up some spinach, some fresh spinach. Now, the spaghetti squash, if you have not done that before, you just slice it in half, scoop out the seeds, put it upside down on a baking sheet, and bake in the oven. I usually do like 400 degrees for about 30 to 45 minutes. It's going to vary a little bit based on the size of your spaghetti squash. So I just added the spinach into the meat and sauce mixture and let that just kind of cook down. We have had this not just when my husband has a tooth removed, but this was a good option because it's pretty tender, and this was not right after the procedure, but it was shortly after. And it's also got some veggies because spaghetti squash is a veggie, and I added in some spinach. So you're just going to pull away with a fork the, I don't know, strings of spaghetti squash, and then we're putting this in a baked, sorry, not a baked, a baking sheet. Nope. A baking dish. Oh my gosh, guys. And we're just going to scoop out as much as we can, and then I'm going to add in a little bit of butter and some garlic powder and mix that around. You could, of course, do the garlic powder in the sauce if you wanted, but it just kind of dawned on me when I was doing this. You could also just cook up some minced garlic with the meat. So however you want to do it, there's really no right or wrong way to do this. And then I just added on the meat sauce, and I'm just kind of mixing it all together. I didn't want to dirty up another dish to do that separately. You could also, I suppose, just layer it. If I thought about it, guys, my brain's been all over the place. I could have done it like baked ziti, where you put a little bit of sauce at the bottom to prevent it from sticking. But since I didn't, I wanted to just mix it all together, even though I had sprayed the dish. Now I am just putting on a container of ricotta cheese, and I'm just kind of dolloping it all over the place, and then we're going to spread it around the best we can. It's not going to be perfect and pretty, but it's certainly going to be delicious. And now I'm just adding in some salt. Could have done that to the spaghetti squash, but it doesn't matter. It's all in the same dish. And then I'm just grabbing the rest of the spaghetti squash because there was just little bits that I was like, I don't want to waste this. So that's what I'm doing. And now we're just going to add on the rest of, nope, we're going to add on some Parmesan cheese. I grated up some freshly Parmesan cheese, and I'm just going to sprinkle some of that on, and then we'll also have some for our individual servings, of course. I love Parmesan cheese, guys. I love it. Now we're going to add on the rest of our meat sauce and just try to evenly spread that out. Again, this is similar to a lasagna or a baked ziti with just a few changes, and it's definitely, you know, fairly healthy. Now we're just going to top this with the shredded Parmesan cheese, shredded mozzarella cheese, which, like I said, I think was about 2 cups worth maybe. And then I put this in the oven, I think at 350 for maybe like 20 to 30 minutes. Just kind of keep an eye on it because not everything's really cooked at this point. You just want it heated through. And then we're going to serve it up. And guys, this is so good. If you are not a spaghetti squash fan or you've never had it before, I did not used to like spaghetti squash. I like it just plain with like butter and salt as a side dish. But I love it in this kind of a dish. So if you've never tried it, I highly recommend it. You might be surprised. Just don't overcook the spaghetti squash. You want it a little bit al dente, at least we do. This was so good. All right, we're keeping this dinner super simple. I've got some chicken breasts in the crock pot. We are going to put in about a cup or so of vegetable broth because I have one open, but you could also do chicken broth or water, I guess. We're going to salt this. You can do garlic powder and onion powder, which is getting low here. I think I want to add a little bit of dill weed. And we are going to put this, it's quite late, it's 4:45, but we probably won't be able to eat till about 8:30 or 9. So I think I'm going to put it on high because these are partially frozen, as you could probably tell. And I'm going to go ahead and make some rice and just pre-cook that. I didn't want to try to figure out how to do it in here because it doesn't always come out right, and I just don't have a lot of time, and we're going to be going somewhere. So I'm going to cook some rice on the stove top, nothing fancy. And that way that'll be ready, and then I'll just have to do a vegetable later. All right, we're gonna do this really simple. We're just doing some brown rice from Aldi. Gonna make 1 cup, 2 cups of water. And then I'm gonna add some of this Herbamare. It's a seasoned sea salt. Maybe a teaspoon. Sorry, my dishwasher, whoa, my dishwasher's going in the background. And we're just gonna cook this as normal. And yeah. Then it'll be all done for later. So the chicken was extremely easy to shred, but it was a tad dry. That was, I think, because I needed a little bit more liquid in because it ended up being in the crock pot a little longer than I had planned. Just things that we were doing went a little bit longer. But you can see it falls right apart, and I needed to sample it. But this was really good. This is more or less just a dinner idea versus a recipe. Obviously, there's really not a whole lot involved here. So we just had the chicken with some brown rice, and then I steamed up our broccoli, and that was dinner for this night. So on this night, we were having breakfast for dinner, and I will have the pancake recipe linked in the description box below rather than going through all of it. You can see I'm a really particular cook here with my measuring skills. So I'll just have it linked for you. We a lot of times do different types of pancakes with coconut flour or ground oats or something, and this was just a regular traditional one with all-purpose flour. So on occasion we do that, and so we're just mixing it up according to directions. Probably the only difference is that I used almond milk versus a regular milk. Everything else I just followed. So I will put the recipe in the description box below for you. If you are enjoying this video, I would appreciate it if you would give this video a like, give it a thumbs up. They're the same thing. It's below the video. Well, I guess depending on where you're watching this, but if you're on the computer or on your phone, below it, hit the like button. It really does help me out. And if you're new, I would love it if you would consider subscribing to my channel. We have lots of fun here. I do vlogs and recipes and grocery hauls on this channel. That last pancake was a giant one. Yeah, I just didn't feel like doing any more rounds. So, if you're new, subscribe. Now, what I was doing there was putting them in the oven. When I have a lot of things to make, like if I do French toast or pancakes, a lot of times I'll just put a baking dish in the oven, put the oven at a very low temperature. I think mine goes down to 170, and I just put them in there and cover them with foil, and that just keeps them warm while I'm making everything else. And then we're just making some scrambled eggs and frying up some more of that sliced ham. It just has such a good flavor when it is cooked like that. So that's what we're doing. Pancakes, ham, and scrambled eggs was for dinner this night. We don't do breakfast for dinner very often. I like it. My husband likes breakfast food, but honestly, I don't think he really loves having it for dinner because I don't think it fills him up very much. But it worked, and this was some more soft food that he was able to eat. So at this point, we were just doing what we had to do. Now, I have the real maple syrup. It gets stored in the fridge, so I do like to microwave it in a little container first, just so that it's nice and warm like our food. All right, so this is clearly just a meal idea, not a recipe. A rotisserie chicken. This was grocery day, so I picked one up at the store, made some boxed mac and cheese and some steamed green beans. Sometimes easy is the way to go, so I'm just sharing this as an idea, not a recipe, clearly. All right, so for our last recipe, this had some troubles, but it was user error, and the recipe was really good. So this is a fried rice with pineapple and ham, and the recipe said to kind of, I guess, brown up, is that what you call it? Toast it, that's what, toast the rice for a little bit in the beginning, and so that's what I'm doing. Now this rice here, I cut in half. I think the recipe called for 1 cup, because I did have some leftover rice in the refrigerator that needed to be used, but it wasn't quite enough, so I was like, well, I'll just make a little bit less. So I toasted it up for a few minutes, and then you're supposed to add in the liquid, and I used some water as well as pineapple juice. I will have the recipe linked below. I think I already said that. And the pineapple juice came from a can of pineapples that we're going to use later. And then you're supposed to let this cook for about 15 minutes. I got distracted cleaning stuff up, and I don't normally cook rice quite like this. So I don't know if I let it go I don't think I let it go too long. I think there wasn't enough liquid because I ended up adding in more liquid, and then I still ended up burning the rice. So that was a little bit of a struggle. So we ended up just using the rice I already had from leftovers, and it worked fine, but it wasn't enough rice. So our ratios were a little off in the end, but definitely recommend the recipe. Just pay more attention when cooking your rice. So we're using more of that sliced ham, and we are going to dice this up into small pieces. Now, I think the recipe called for pineapple tidbits, but I had pineapple chunks. So I'm just pulling them out and cutting them up a little bit to make them a little bit smaller. And you want to just get 1 cup of the pineapple. So that's what I'm doing as well. This recipe is very, very easy. I knew I would like it. I wasn't sure if my husband would, so I asked him if he wanted it or if I should just make it for lunch. And he was like, no, I think I want to give it a try. And he really liked it as well. He just said that, yeah, the rice ratio was off, and that was because I just got frustrated when I burnt the rice and didn't make more. So, yeah, that's what happened there. So I also didn't think through which pans and pots I was using for what things. So in a way too small of a pan, I am put in some more oil, and I'm just cooking up or heating up that ham, again, just kind of browning it up. And then at this point, my rice was not done, but the liquid was gone. So I added in some more pineapple juice, and this was the last time that it stood a chance. After this point, it was, you know, it didn't stand a chance. Yeah, there I was testing it. I was like, no, it's definitely not done. So I added in some pineapple juice, and then there's a little bit more water, thinking that would do the trick. And yeah, so I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know what the problem was. Cook rice the way you want to would be my recommendation, but I do like the idea of using the pineapple juice for some added flavor as part of the liquid. So that much I'll say, yeah, go ahead and do. So I'm going to struggle a little bit here because I'm not using the right size dishes for this entire meal. So at this point, I realized my rice was burnt, and I just put it off to the side because I was just kind of over it. I took the rice I did have and put it in this pot with a little bit of oil, and I needed to heat this through. I did put it in the microwave for just a little bit to take some of the chill off, and we're just going to use this big pot as well. And we're going to add in the ham. Now, I also at this point was realizing I didn't have a vegetable, and we really like to have vegetables with our meal. So this was just a lack of, I don't know, I think I was just preoccupied trying to put stuff away, and my head was not in the game. We added in the pineapple, and then you're going to add in a couple tablespoons of soy sauce, or for us, we use the coconut aminos. You can use whatever you want. The only thing that we really didn't use in the recipe were some green onions, which we just did not have on hand. So yeah, we're just going to add all that in. Mix this together. I let it heat through, and then we just steamed up some broccoli on the side. Then I also realized that I wanted eggs in my stir fry or fried rice. Yeah, fried rice. The recipe didn't actually have it in the ingredients. They did say later that that's an option. They just don't prefer it that way. But because I was just looking at the ingredients and my head was clearly not in the game, I forgot until this point. So I cleaned the pan and scrambled up 4 eggs, I think I did. I really like a lot of scrambled eggs in my fried rice, so that's what we did, but you can feel free to omit that if that's not your favorite thing to do. So when it's all done, I mix the scrambled eggs in with the fried rice and served this up with a good size serving of some steamed broccoli. And this was really, really good. Just get the ratios right with the rice. But I definitely recommend this, and it was a great way to use up some more of that ham. As you see, we use that a lot in this video because we just, yeah, kept having to use it up. So this was a great recipe for that. Well, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe before you leave, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye, guys.